My name's Clem. It's short for Paul Clements. The Beatles were a big band in England where I'm from, and there was 5 people called Paul in my class, so I just get called Clem. But I'd like to thank Anis for inviting me to talk today. I mean, I've been a big fan of TED. It's not very often they let an ad man come in and talk, because I think they think we're going to pollute the network or get everybody smoking or something. So. But I'm glad to be here. When I spoke to Anis a few months ago now, when he was starting to put this show together, we talked about enlightenment. And instantly I thought, oh, Illuminati and all these fantastic things, and Buddhism and Eightfold Paths, that'd be great to make a story about that I could entertain you all for 20 minutes. And then I thought, oh, 20 minutes. That's not going to happen. So I thought, I'll look a little further, and I thought, dark times, bright ideas. That's advertising. So I thought I'll talk a little bit about advertising and where I think advertising is going. This isn't sort of a big TBWA thing. This is just the way that I'm looking at things and the way that my colleagues are looking at things. So let's get in and have a look at advertising. I thought I'd start with this. Who wants to be an advertising agency? I mean, when I have guests at home and they come and we eat dinner, and if my wife's friends come around, they say, oh, and what do you do? I say, oh, I work with IT. I work with computers and things. And it's just easier that way, because advertising, we steal people's time. And when you work with IT, I get invited to their homes, and it's great. They let me in. I have to fix their computers while I'm there, but that's okay. I don't mind doing that. So I was happy when TBWA a few years ago, they sent out a big mail to all the offices saying, we're not going to be an advertising agency anymore. We're going to be looking at getting ourselves measured up against other companies. Companies like Apple, companies like Google. Great companies that have big, bright ideas, even in dark times. And that, for me, that was enlightening. So advertising. This is an illustration for advertising. I don't know if you all have seen the big show that's called Mad Men that's running right now. It's, if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's very good. But this is kind of, in their time, 20 years ago, this is how advertising worked. Over here, on this side, this is the monopoly of media. Advertising owned the media channels. We could tell you anything. You had no choice. You just had to sit back and listen and maybe just believe in what we were telling you about. I mean, back then, brands, they had a voice. They were heard. There was a little competition, but not too much. We had a lot of brands that could buy the time. They maybe didn't have the best product, but they had the deepest pockets, so they could just buy their time. That's changed today. When we look at the media space today, we've got thousands of channels. It's not just TV, it's not just print, it's not just radio. If you just look at the internet, how many different channels there are. We've all got mobile phones, we've all got devices that go online now. Apple have got their iPad and all these kind of things. We've got Kindles, we've got all these different devices. Everything's ubiquitous, we're always connected to something. So all these different channels. So today in advertising, it's about being noticed, it's about being aware, it's about being relevant. And how do we do that? How do we get there? And hopefully I'll try and show you some stuff. It's hard work. But one thing we don't want to be the moonwalking bear. That's a strange expression. I don't know if those of you that know about the moonwalking bear, be quiet. I'm going to show you a little film that demonstrates a little bit about advertising, a little bit about a brand. It's a TV spot that was made for London Transport 2 or 3 years ago. So here's a little film, and it is a test, so do take notice.
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make? The answer is 13.
How many people got it right?
But did you see the moonwalking bear?
Did you see him? So now, forget the basketball playing, forget all that. Look in the middle, this guy. And it is there the first time. We can repeat it and show you again. It is there the first time. And that just, if you're not looking for a brand, if they're not there for you, how are you going to find them? How are you going to know they exist? So this tells us a lot about advertising today. So it's all about having the right story. It's about having the right message to come out with. It's about having the right relevance. It's about making the right kind of communication with the right people at the right time. And we try to use stories. It's easier, as people, we remember stories. I mean, we could probably remember some payoff lines or some taglines from some ads, but we can all remember stories. That's just the way we're put together, all these small little bits of information that build up. So over time, it's a huge amount of information we have, but it's easy to remember. But we've got to find the stories. And to find stories today, we've got to stop just looking at doing ads. Because, let's face facts today, ads aren't working. And I'm in advertising. They don't do the job that they used to do. Everybody's got this advertising guard up. When you see an ad, you think, oh, they're just trying to sell me something. Really? They're stealing my time now. I've got 6 minutes until the TV show starts again. I'll just choose one of the other 53 channels we got. So nobody's looking at those. But we still want to find a good story. And where we're going to look inside the business. We've got to try and find where the story is. It could be what they're doing with the local economy. It could be the employees. It could be corporate social responsibility was the big thing for the last couple of years. It could be anywhere. But we need to find that story. We need to look inside and find these values and then try and package that story in a way. I mean, if you're in an insurance company, maybe you'd be trying to optimize your business a little bit. You want to tell people that you handle claims really fast. So you could give them an application on their mobile phone. So if you've just been unlucky enough to crash your car, you can press on a button, start their application, and then it walks you through what you need to do. It could tell you, get the information of the driver. Here's the form you need to fill in. So I could go up and ask him his name, what's his insurance company, get all his information. And then we say, take a picture of the accident and turn your GPS on so we can position exactly where you are. We could also have it, I could take a photo of the other guy. I could do all these things. It would walk me through. Now you can call the police. Now you need to do that. Here's the number of the local police office because I know where you are. You've got your GPS turned on. So we could help you process these claims. So that's a good story to tell. It's just a way of packaging it. But once you've found this story, once you know what it is you want to tell people and you want to talk to people about, how are you going to tell the story? We got these two schools of thought. We have consistency and we have coherence. Many people, they want their brands to be consistent. They think that the brand should look the same everywhere. They need to say the same thing everywhere, so no matter where I meet them, I get the same messaging. They need to act the same way every time. So if they're a responsible brand, they need to be responsible everywhere. If they're a fun brand, then it should be fun everywhere I meet them. But when I'm talking to audiences, quite often I'm not relevant enough. So that, in my mind, that's an old way of looking at things where a brand can only be and only say one thing. Today, we like to look at a more narrative approach. We want branding to replace this idea of consistency with an idea of coherence. A brand needs to share its story across many parts of its audience. It could be customers, could be the employees, could be sort of shareholders, could be anybody. But we want to get these different strands of this narrative and get them to twine together to be a coherent story that, in a whole, give the entire story of the brand. A little example about that. If you're at a party and you want to make some new friends, you've just arrived, and if I wanted to go around and talk to all of you guys, it would take quite a while, quite a lot. But if I wanted to meet you all, I'd try and angle and pitch my story to you. I'd find out, have we got a friend in common? Have we got a job in common? And I'd angle my story to go through that so that, one, you were comfortable. Two, I was more relevant for you. And three, I could try and entertain you a little bit. And that's what we need to do with branding. So today, if I just use sort of Don Draper again from Mad Men, his world was a lot easier. He just had to tell me about the good deal, the good offer that there was. Today, we also need to use the best way of delivering that. So it's not just about having the right offer for people. It's about having the right offer with the right delivery method, with the right packaging around it. Messages today, they're deployed across multiple channels. It's not just the TV spot. It's not just the print ad. We're out on everything. I mean, the big ones, we've got Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all these fantastic social network channels. So today when we're looking at advertising, the big idea we have, it needs to be holistic. It needs to be ubiquitous. It needs to be media independent. So now, in advertising, we're trying to say goodbye to this 360-degree campaign, which was that no matter which ad unit you met, if it was a billboard, if it was a print ad, if it was TV or radio or whatever it was, we'd say the same thing. We want to move away from that. We want to move to a new place where we're looking at 365 days. We're looking at getting involved in the conversations that you as an audience are wanting and are already having. Google's a great example for this. They've sort of infiltrated our everyday. They started with a great search engine. They came with mail. They've got docs. They've got the labs. They've got everything. They got maps. They're a part of our everyday. We can't live without Google. And we don't know where all these things are. I don't need to worry about getting here today. I have this sort of extended mind that says, I know that I can go in on Google and find this place. So Google's one of the great examples. And finally, advertising agencies, because we need to address this and get involved in the conversation, finally, we've learned that we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. In the old days when we had to pitch, we just come into the room and start talking and wouldn't listen to what the customer wanted because, hey, they're just the customer. They just got to pay the bills. We'll tell them how it's going to be. But now we listen because we're trying to find that story. We're trying to find the right story for the brand. Constant communication. This is a term that was introduced to by a great colleague of mine in America called Colleen DeCourcy, a fantastic person. We're looking at this constant communication. We're looking at longer campaign times. We're not looking at that quick burst where, hey, we're going to be running for a week, we've bought a load of TRPs, we're just going to burn them away. We're looking at getting involved in a dialogue. We want to get people to communicate with us. We want to help them with our advertising. Every piece of communication today should help somebody in some way. It could just be a piece of information. It could be Mad Men's on tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Don't forget to watch it. It's a little thing. But we want to help people. We want to give them something. And it took us a while to work it out. But it's all about this. It's all about the dialogue. Because when there's a dialogue that exists, then a brand can exist. Everything in life that happened, or didn't happen for that sake, is the result of a conversation. From when you buy a car, or when you buy a shirt or a sweater, to when you get married. Everything starts with a conversation. They're the cause of everything. They're the cause of, they can be, what could it be? It could be an advert you see that just interests you, just finds you. It could be a feature you like on a website. It could be something on your mobile phone that you want to talk about, that you get this kind of, you get a one-upmanship on your friend when you go out and you're the first one that knows about this. And you say, hey, have you seen this? And the guy says no, and you say, ha, where have you been? You feel a little bit clever. Because it's all about this conversation or series of conversations that you can have. Because conversations, they drive relationships. It's how we all get to know each other. And relationships, they drive emotions. And for advertisers, emotions, that's where we want to be. Because emotions, they drive decisions. So how this conversation goes, how it works for you today, that's how your brand is today and tomorrow. And social media, it's been a big help for us. We didn't invent it, but we're using it. I mean, we've got people that are sharing news and information that they get every day. And who's bringing in this news and information? It's coming into their feed, but who's bringing it? And that's advertisers. We're giving this news and information a badge value for the person whose feed we're coming in on. We're giving them a little bit of extra information that maybe they didn't know about that they can share with their friends, so they're the clever one in the group. We're actually reducing the need for advertisers today to spend money on these big ad campaigns than the big TV productions. They have a role. They'll be around for a long time. But the conversation that's taking place in smaller bites. It's taking place online. I mean, if we take a simple news feed in Facebook, brands can begin playing this more relative, more active role in the consumer's life, which is magic. It's kind of like advertising found its own version of reality TV, where we get the consumer to spread the word for us. They become ambassadors and talk about it. If we can give them some tools and some tips and some information or some news that they can use for something, then we're in conversation. Then we can target what we want to do there. But it's not easy. This little illustration, this shows how we manage ad campaigns today. In the old ad world, there was a saying that was aim, fire, and forget. You'd aim at your target group, fire your campaign, and you go out for lunch. Forget about it. It's done. They've paid the bill. We'll wait until the next one. Not anymore. Today we aim a lot wider. We have a huge reach. In Denmark, everybody wants to get, when we ask, what's the target group for this? They say, everybody. Everybody should know about this. So when we aim very wide. We often don't fire. We often have a silent launch where we just go out and we find maybe some bloggers or something and get them to start talking about our product. Try and have this grassroots movement starting where we come in and we sort of filter up through the social sphere. But there's a problem with it when you run a campaign like this. You start it up and then you've got to fight like crazy to keep it going. It's just like pinball. You've got to keep going all you can, changing things, tuning things, measuring things, adjusting things. And it's new for clients. It's really hard to talk to clients about this because it's a whole new way to manage a brand. Lots of brands today, they have fixed campaigns. They say, okay, our spring campaign, that's going to be this much, and we're going to be running on TV and radio, and then we're going to do a fall campaign where we'll be running this and this and this. Where now we're trying to stretch it out over an entire year, where it's a conversation. And that's hard for brand managers today to understand. It's also hard when they come to do their budgets because all of a sudden we've got things like journalists and programmers and media artists involved in the budget, and they're all like, who the hell are they? So it's tricky for them to understand, but I hope and pray that we can get them on board so that we can change the way advertising has been working, so that we stop shouting, we listen more, and we get involved in a conversation. And if we get the clients on board, that can be the next time we speak. So that's it from me. I'd just like to say thank you very much. Thank you.